Welcome back to this edition of Operation Greatness Freeing the Matrix Action Pod. This is number 42, Good versus Evil, Part 2, The War Within Elon Musk and President Trump. Before we do this conversation, I just want to make sure that you are seeing or doing Part 1, which was entitled or is entitled Good versus Evil. Every moment you are deciding the winner. So make sure that you hear that one and better yet, see that one. You will see all of our podcasts instead of just hearing them. If you're doing the videos, these are our Operation Greatness chapter meetings. So when you are leading your own Operation Greatness chapter, we're doing that through freeingthematrix.com. Then you'll see the video instead of just hearing the audio. And there's so many more nuances to see the body language. Like right now, I'm doing this in natural lighting, and the right side of my face is in the light, and the left side of my face is in the dark. And that's the metaphor, you can visualize that, for the battle of good versus evil in every one of our lives. So we're going to look at the lives of Elon Musk and President Trump because, I mean, some people, well, there's an organized effort by evil to discredit them and to paint them in a negative light, and yet at their heart, I believe, I feel, I sense, I intuit, I know that Elon Musk is out for the betterment of humanity. He's doing his part to uphold the values that he believes are important, such as free speech, such as everyone being able to communicate their ideas, regardless of their political views. And that's an honorable, noble gesture or belief or value to have. And President Trump, I believe he loves America and he's seen how much evil the globalists, the communists had worked to destroy America under Biden and Obama and even the Bush administrations and the Clinton administration, of course. And I believe he's someone who honestly loves America and he wants to promote freedom, not oppression. And yet, I mean, we're going to look at all of this because, and I want you to hear this message either way. If you, I mean, you might think, you might buy into the propaganda of evil and think that Elon is, like a dictator or President Trump is a dictator or a Nazi. I mean, it's all, notice where these things are coming from. Notice where the whole anti-Trump movement originated. It's from the globalists, right? It's from like the George Soroses of the world, and he's one of the prime agents of evil. I hope you recognize that, and if you don't, then it's time to take off your filters because if you're seeing life through the lens of globalism, which is another word for totalitarianism or communism, or if you're seeing, I mean, like I call it the Democratic National Communist Party, the DNC, well, and if you're getting your news, quote unquote, well, it's really propaganda from CNN or MSNBC or CNBC or ABC, NBC, CBS, or the New York Times or the Washington Post, well, you're getting propaganda from the CIA, ultimately, is the source of that. And that's the source of the globalist movement. And I call it the attempted totalitarian takeover. Anyway, I mean, the CIA is about oppression. The globalist agenda is about oppression. The World Economic Forum, WEF, Klaus Schwab, the epitome of evil, I mean, all of them are only about totalitarian control, taking away the rights of the individual to serve the betterment of the quote elites who think of themselves as better than all of us. That's evil. It's pure and simple. I mean, whether you think Satan is behind all of that, or you think that there are parasitic entities who are lower astral beings who are feeding off fear and who designed the totalitarian systems of oppression and control, then and so they keep people in poverty and scarcity, fear, lack consciousness, and they allow people to barely survive. I mean, just like the Matrix described it so beautifully, except in that structure or system or vision, it was, like AI and computers and robots that run things, and then the humans are harvested for their life force. I mean, and a lot of people believe that is true, that system, when you see this battle of good versus evil. And anyway, I mean, so whichever side you're on, you can still benefit from this exploration that we're doing in this Operation Greatness Freeing the Matrix Action Pod number 42 as the seeing of good versus evil and how it plays out in every one of our lives. And so that's what I'm asking you to see within yourself. So relate the examples that we're talking about here and revealing, exposing, looking at it under the microscope, you might say, or shining the spotlight on these two individuals. And yet I want to do this in a neutral way, and so I'm asking you to see beyond the propaganda on both sides, whether that's the Trump is evil narrative or the Trump is our savior narrative. I mean, let's think of it as both extremes. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle, and maybe that hasn't been concluded yet because the war within each one of us of good versus evil, or I call it ego versus God, and ego means not God. I would really like you to contemplate that one. We talk about this more in Action Pot number 41, Good versus Evil Part 1. So see this, hear this, think about this in terms of that war within you, the battle of good versus evil in all of our lives. That's what's relevant to you and to every one of us. So don't get caught up in the names like President Trump or Elon Musk. I mean, I respect both of them, and yet I see both sides of it, and we'll talk about that in this conversation. So let's, so will you do that? Will you hear this with an open mind and look at this as objectively as you can? I mean, I was a newspaper reporter for 6 years and assistant managing editor for 4 years, and that was back before the media was corrupted and became infiltrated by the agenda of oppression and tyranny, and it became hijacked. I mean, the whole Democratic Party was hijacked by the communist extreme left factions. And I still think of myself as being like that neutral observer, that unbiased reporter or journalist who looks at both sides and doesn't and presents both sides fairly and accurately, and then we as journalists would leave it up to you because we respect your intelligence and ability to make up your own mind. And that was before the journalist profession became the operative of the CIA and the Democratic National Communist Party, and where we respected the intelligence of our audiences to make up their own mind, and we accurately and fairly presented both sides of an issue, and then they could pick the one that they felt was right. And that's how it's meant to be. That's how it's supposed to be, where the media is like the fourth arm of the government, and it's holding the government accountable for the promises they made and for the betterment of America and the free world. The key word, free world. The world is not free under the oppressive systems of the globalists, the communists, the evil. So, I mean, you can decide where you're at in that battle, and the lines, they don't have to be. I mean, we're ultimately bridging back to, we're coming back together as our human family. That's what we're doing through freeingthematrix.com, in fact. So if you're not yet part of the Freeing the Matrix Mastermind, well, make sure that you are through freeingthematrix.com. So let's go. So I'm asking you to set aside your preconceived ideas, your beliefs, what you believe to be true, what you, quote, know is the truth, and look at this objectively from a third person neutral perspective. Do your best at that. I mean, I realize that both sides, to some extent, were brainwashed or manipulated, and the truth is probably somewhere closer to the middle. And yet, I'm inviting you to see this for yourself and to look at the influences of good versus evil in your life, because that's what's relevant and imperative for each of us to recognize, because we're creating the fact that good has triumphed over evil. Good. You are a good person and you're triumphing over evil. You're not giving in to the influences of evil. Right? Is that fair? So will you do that? So let's get right into this now. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a post that I posted on, well, I put it on Facebook and Twitter. It was originally on Facebook, and then I copied it and pasted it on Twitter, and the spacing isn't as attractive because it didn't maintain the paragraphs in Twitter. So, I mean, like if you're following me on Twitter, then I appreciate that and thank you. And you're one of my, what is it now, 183,927 people following me on Twitter. Well, if I shared it with you on Twitter, then it wouldn't have the spacing, so it wouldn't be as attractive. So we're going to do this from my Facebook posting. And so let me just read to you. We'll talk about this. This is an interesting source, the Galactic Council Insights, and I want you to hear this because I think this is a fair assessment of the people, the men, President Trump and Elon Musk. And I don't want you to get lost in the source. Like you could think, oh, this is from the Galactic Council. It's new age woo woo stuff, or it's, no, don't get caught up in that. And I presume that's what the Galactic Council is, like some kind of space entity, like the Intergalactic Federation of Planets. And I mean, I don't know, maybe these are real organizations and, you know, has have ET races been monitoring our progress as the human race, and they're waiting for us all to elevate our consciousness and for us to finally triumph over evil and come back together as our human family. I mean, I believe that's very likely because to think, like, how could I have the arrogance to think that we are the only intelligent life forms in the whole galaxy or the whole universe of galaxies? I mean, that just doesn't even make any sense logically to me. So to think that there are other races that have come together as planets and as galaxies and as intelligent life, I mean, considering how humanity has evolved with different tribes and then different communities, and then the communities come together and form a state or a nation, and then they were at war with other nations. I mean, that's the natural evolution. So then the natural evolution is for us to become a space-faring race, right? And where we explore other planets and other systems. And to me, it's all logical and rational and reasonable that there would be a galactic council. So anyway, let's get into this. Okay, so I saw this post and then I reposted it or shared it on Facebook and on Twitter. And let's read what I shared first. I say, read this. Okay, and I'm inviting you to do that right here. Hold your frequency unwaveringly high. So, will you do that? Will you elevate your consciousness because you alone are in control of your life, and you alone are responsible for your life. And I'm inviting you, I'm imploring you to take 100% responsibility for your life, for how you are using your power, for you recognizing that your power is beyond measure, and your prime directive is to use your power to create everything that you want and to give none of your attention, which is your power, to anything you do not want. Will you accept that responsibility, the prime directive that we all have? Because then good triumphs over evil instantly, like that, because your power is beyond measure. You have so much more power than you can ever imagine or comprehend. And I'm inviting you to focus your power right now as we are all working together and liberating humanity. I mean, like, so do this right now. Join us in humanity's unifying manifestation. Your power is beyond measure. You have so much more power than you can ever even comprehend or imagine. And now focus your power, concentrate your power in creating this manifestation, humanity's unifying manifestation. Let's do this now together. Read this out loud because then that even gives it more power. Our power is beyond measure. Together, we've helped 1.72 billion people become very wealthy, living their Dharma through freeingthematrix.com and Operation Greatness. This is the greatest thing we've ever done and the higher purpose of our lives. If you weren't able to read that, then go to freeingthematrix.com and you'll see that right there. And then join us with your email here, and you'll be invited to become part of our Freeing the Matrix Mastermind, which is here. No, it's not here. I went to the wrong tab. It's right here if you're watching the video, which is through you in being in through you leading your own Operation Greatness chapter, which you'll be able to do through our Freeing the Matrix mastermind at freeingthematrix.com. Anyway, so together we have focused our power and we have created the fact that all of us working together for the betterment of humanity, where good has triumphed clearly over evil, and we helped 1.72 billion people become very wealthy, living their Dharma through freeingthematrix.com and Operation Greatness as the greatest thing we have ever done and the higher purpose of all of our lives, right? I mean, that's the power we have. We can transform the world, we can liberate humanity, and that's why we are here now at this time in our history, because this is the monumental turning point in human history by all of us doing this together through freeingthematrix.com and becoming part of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. So, will you do that? Will you do your part in helping good triumph over evil? So let's get back to this now, or let's get into this now. So we are here to raise our consciousness. So keep your consciousness high, keep yourself focused in that humanity's unifying manifestation where we have all come together and helped 1.72 billion people become very wealthy, living their Dharma through freeingthematrix.com and Operation Greatness as the higher purpose of our lives and the greatest thing we have ever done. And that happens, that 1.72 billion number is very specific. That's the result of you right here leading all of your online friends through joining us as part of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind, by you leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating every one of your online friends, doing a little more today and being of greater service to everyone connected with you, everyone you are blessed to transform and liberate. So, by you, for example, pausing, going back to the beginning of this Operation Greatness podcast, Action Pod number 42, and pausing at each point and sharing your thoughts about each point as separate posts on all your social media platforms, and then using your, I'm going back to our freeingthematrix.com mastermind, using your invite people link that if you're watching the video, then you see right here, it's on the about page, and then on the right column, it says settings on my screen, and yet on your screen it'll say invite people. So get your invite people link, because then you're getting 40% of our $59 per month fee, which is really like an administration fee, because you're actually getting, this is our freeingthematrix.com mastermind is really a $2,500 coaching program per month, and you're getting it for just $59 a month through freeingthematrix.com. And using your invite people link, you're in all the posts that you're making as you're transforming the lives of every one of your online friends as the greatest thing every one of us has ever done, and the best thing that you have done to contribute to the world, the higher purpose of your life. Well, you're getting 40% for every one of your online friends doing that through your link of that $59 per month fee, and 1,200 of your online friends joining us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind through your link at $59 per month, and you getting 40% of that. That would be $28,320 per month that you would be making in being of greater service. So this is financial freedom money for every one of us, because then, so this is what it looks like. Your 1,200 people getting their 1,200 people, and then those 1,440,000 people getting their 1,200 people. That's 1.72 billion. Actually, that's 1,728,000,000 people. And you transformed all of their lives, because this is your higher purpose and by far your greatest contribution to the world. Is that pretty obvious? So we're doing that together through freeingthematrix.com, by you joining us in our Freeing the Matrix Mastermind yourself. So hold your frequency unwaveringly high, and hold that vision in your mind as your focus, because that's where you're giving your power, that's where you're giving your attention, and that's where you're creating your life and our world that we have all worked together, joined each other in harmony, in support and service of each other through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind at freeingthematrix.com. And this is what all of us are creating, allowing, attracting, manifesting in our lives as the higher purpose of our lives and the greatest thing that all of us have done. So know you're in the right place. Trust your intuition and your power. You're feeling like, wow, I've always had so much more within me. I'm meant for greatness. That's what you've known that since you were probably a child. Am I right about that? You know that you're here for some major purpose. This is it. This is the higher purpose of your whole life: to lead, inspire, transform, and liberate everyone you are blessed to serve on social media. All your social media contacts, no one left behind. You are transforming their lives. You are giving them the power to become financially free, as they are in turn being that inspired visionary leader, following your lead and example of all of their online friends. And that's how we are coming together and liberating humanity, making sure good has triumphed over evil. Is that clear that you have to do this because this is This is ultimately the presence of God moving through your life to bless the world. That's how significant this is, that we're all doing this together through freeingthematrix.com and joining our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. Build community. Stay focused and strong. We're doing this together through freeingthematrix.com, our Freeing the Matrix mastermind. Will you join us if you haven't already done that yet? Do that now if you haven't done that yet, freeingthematrix.com. So let's look at this conversation that I'm sharing with you. I believe this was written by Jolie Wilson, or maybe it was posted by her. I don't know. It's not attributed exactly. So let's look at Elon Musk and President Trump as the examples of winning the war within between good and evil. And I'm not saying that they are winning the war within. We're going to introduce all of this. So remember, you're looking at this with an open mind. Okay, so question, what what's going on with Donald Trump, President Trump, Elon Musk, and the US government? Okay, so I think I don't know if it's Jolie or some person that's unattributed, so I don't know the source of this exactly. They're asking this intergalactic, whatever it's called here, the Galactic Council. Okay, so maybe it's channeled information, maybe, so I mean, take this with a grain of salt, and yet I love the answer here as I think it's an insightful observation of good versus evil in each of these people. That's the inspiration here for us talking right now. So let us open the Akashic records now and tune deeply to the energetic undercurrent of what is unfolding around Trump, Elon Musk, the US government, and the collective consciousness at large. You know that you're part of collective consciousness, and I suggest that you recognize that you are the rising tide raising all boats. In other words, by you becoming very high consciousness yourself, by you being so aligned with your divine design, duty, destiny, dharma, you are elevating the collective consciousness for our whole human family by you giving none of your power to anything you don't want, because that would be creating what you don't want. Your power is so great, and I'm asking you to step into it fully and to be responsible for how you are creating everything you want and nothing you don't want, as the inspired visionary leader, as the example of what's possible for everyone. Right now, you, as the inspired visionary leader, are leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating every one of your online friends. No one left behind, and you're improving life for everyone on the planet by doing that. As you saw, your 1,200 people getting their 1,200, and you've transformed 1,440,000 people who are getting their 1,200, and that's you transforming the lives of 1.72 billion people as the higher purpose of all of our lives. That's happening by you giving this your focus and allowing this and creating this singular focus and purpose. That's where you're concentrating your power. Like the sun feels good on my arm when I'm hiking. I just did that a few hours ago. And like on my face, and it's nice and it's beautiful. And then when you focus the sun's beams into a single beam, like a laser beam, then you can incinerate steel with that, right? That's what we are doing together. We're focusing our power, which is beyond measure. This is making sure that good has triumphed over evil once and for all. So you influence collective consciousness with every thought that you engage, and every action you take, especially with the words you speak, are having that impact. So be very mindful and vigilant about using your power to only create what gives you joy, inspires you, and moves you closer to your goals, desires, and dreams. Knowing that with that being 100% of your focus, that's 100% of your life experience. Everything is cause and effect, and where you give your attention You are giving your power, and that's how you are creating your life and how we are creating our world. So be very mindful of how you are showing up in collective consciousness because you are part of the collective consciousness of our whole human family. And you are here to elevate our collective consciousness and make sure that we have freed ourselves from the matrix and that good has permanently triumphed over evil. That is your divine design, duty, destiny, dharma. And we're doing that together right here through freeingthematrix.com. Is there any question about that? To me, it's so obvious. And now you're seeing that yourself. You have the power to transform the world. So do that. That's your focus. That's your higher purpose. It's why you are here on the planet now. Is that obvious to you as well? So be that inspired visionary leader. There's no question about it. That's why you are here on the planet now. And you are the whole human race has been transformed because of you taking this to heart, really hearing this and living this. So this is not about sides or politics. This is about the unseen architecture of frequency, soul contracts, karmic completions, and the multidimensional awakening of humanity. That's really worth pausing and seeing and looking at that in your life because you are here for a very important purpose, which is liberating humanity. I'm getting chills here just feeling that, recognizing that. I see you as the embodiment of your full potential. I see you as the inspired visionary leader who has transformed the world. By you doing this yourself and by you leading all of your online friends through doing this with all of their online friends. You transform the world. This is your higher purpose. You have the power to do that just by leading everyone connected with you through doing this Operation Greatness chapter meeting through your invite people link that you got through freeingthematrix.com. Is there any question about your need to do this, about the value in you and the gift of you doing this, and this as the greatest contribution you have ever even made or imagined was possible for you to make? I mean, transforming the lives of 1.72 billion people. Has anyone in all of human history had anywhere near that level of effect? I can think of one person. Jesus Christ is how we refer to him. I mean, that's our example of what, and what did Jesus say? All these things I have done, you will do yourself. And then what did he add? This is your challenge from Jesus directly to you, and so much more. Jesus said you would have so much greater impact than even he had on the world. He's challenging you to do this, to live up to your potential. And we're doing that together through freeingthematrix.com in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. Is there any question about your need to be here with us for that work as your greatest gift to the world? Because you are God's gift to the world. So be it. What is truly happening is a timeline divergence. I think this is very interesting. I'm inviting you to explore this yourself. It is the inevitable splitting of paradigms. The old structures built on control, domination, fear, and illusion are cracking, while new structures based on sovereignty, divine will, transparency, and unity are being seeded in the subtle realms. If you didn't know this, think of there as being three levels of mind: the physical level, the gross, is the most dense, and the gross is created by the astral, and there is the lower astral, which is like fear, jealousy, envy, greed. That's where evil was living, and that's how the systems of the world were designed to create and to keep people in bondage in the gross, unaware of their power beyond measure. by the lower astral beings. Think of that as like the hell regions. The astral creates the gross, and yet there's also the higher astral that's like beauty, love, awe, wonder, bliss. That's where we are moving into as our human collective consciousness into the higher astral. The astral creates the gross, and yet above the astral is the causal region or realm, and the causal is what creates the astral, which creates the gross. So if you can hold your frequency, remember I said your role is to elevate your consciousness, elevate your frequency, and be that rising tide, raising all boats. If by you elevating yourself into the causal region, which creates the astral, which creates the gross, that's the power that you have. That's the ultimate purpose that you have. And if you can stay in beauty, love, awe, wonder, appreciation, instead of the lower astral, you're in the higher astral then, and that's having so much more effect. I mean, light always conquers dark, right? You know, like how you, as like the candle that you are, one candle, one small flame can remove the darkness in a large area. You are that candle, you are that light dispelling the darkness everywhere it still remains. This is your higher purpose. You realize that, right? So the disruption we see around Donald Trump, I would call him President Trump, and yet, you know, Elon Musk and the chaotic theater of government are not isolated events. They are symptoms, surface eruptions of a much deeper and older battle playing out in the fabric of reality itself. How do you respond to that? You know that everything is cause and effect, right? And that you are prime cause, and where you give your attention, you are giving your power, and that's how your life is created. I mean, really hear that message. That's been a message congruent since the days of Jesus. I mean, ask and it is given, as you sow, so shall you reap, right? I mean, you could call it karma, you could call it cause and effect, you could call it law of attraction, whatever words you use, it's the same principle that's been, well, we've known about that for thousands of years, right? So how are you masterfully creating your life, everything that you want? You're living that. You want more happiness, you want love, you want the presence of God in your life. Is that fair? All of that? So be that inspiration for others, be that source of happiness, joy, fulfillment, well being, peace of mind, success, prosperity, meaning, impact, contribution for others. And that is how you are getting all of that yourself. The good you are doing for others comes back to you. And then what is that multiplication factor? Is it the law of tenfold return, or the law of 100-fold return, or the law of 1,000, or 10,000, or a million, or a billion, or a trillion? That all depends on how much you are willing to receive, your level of allowing. It's you that determines how much you get back by how open you are to the abundance, the unlimited, and the infinite. That's the word that I use to describe God. I mean, God is the word that I use to describe the infinite and unlimited, of which you are its expression in the world. Really hear that message, contemplate that deeply. I mean, for sure, share your thoughts about that as a separate post. I mean, all of these posts, this is how you are leading, inspiring, and transforming and liberating everyone on the human, everyone in our human family, everyone on the planet through your invite people link, as we're all doing this together through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. You see how important this is for every one of us, right? Donald Trump comes, Donald Trump carries the disruptor archetype. I don't think many people would question that. His soul incarnated to fracture illusion not because he is pure light, not pure shadow, but because disruption was needed to stir the collective out of its slumber. I think that's very, very important for us to recognize. Would you agree that that's accurate? I think everybody could see that. We were complicit, compliant, asleep, unconscious, unaware, and now that's not an option. Now the energies are such, like the think of the earth as, people talk about the earth, it has ascended already and is 5D now. And so the earth has to shake off anything that was of a lower vibration. And that means chaos. That means conflict, adversity, challenge, pain, struggle, suffering. And yet that had to happen for every one of us to shake ourselves out of our passive nature, our sleeping, our sleepwalking. We had to all wake up, and that's what we're doing now, right? So President Trump magnifies the unhealed wounds of nationalism, egoic supremacy, hero worship, and fear-based governance. Very interesting to pause and reflect on that. He is a magnet for unresolved power dynamics, a mirror for humanity's dependency on external saviors and scapegoats. That's pretty interesting, and we're going to look at more of that in this conversation right here. He is not fully aligned with divine order, for he too has been entangled by astral forces feeding his desire for dominance and recognition. Okay, so let's look at that. Like, most people from his first presidency, I don't know about most, a lot of people thought of him as very like an egomaniac or like a dictator. I mean, they said even then that he was going to be a dictator like a Hitler, and then they used the word Hitler now. I mean, and and then he was shot in the ear, and he seemed to become more humble. He seemed to be more of a servant leader instead of like, this is all me, look at me. I mean, like, okay, so another perspective on this, which is well worth us considering, there's this woman named Lori Ladd, and I like the work that she has done. And back then, or maybe, I don't know when it was, but many years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe it was during the Biden years, I don't remember now. She did a video, which I think the video title was something like, Is President Trump the brightest light on the planet? That was, I don't remember what the title was, but that was like the premise of her video. And she said that he has more light than almost anyone on the planet. And because he's here for such an important role. And I think she said that, yes, it's true. He does have more light than anyone or almost anyone on the planet. And yet, that's again the battle of good versus evil. Where are you giving your attention? I mean, so someone who has that mission to shake things up for the whole planet and for good to triumph over evil, I mean, it would be easy, like, President Trump was a celebrity for many years before he thought about entering politics. So he had a very large ego already. And if he made the mistake of thinking himself the doer, then, this is all me, look at me, I'm great. And, like they say, he wants to be on Mount Rushmore. That's of ego, right? I mean, that's missing, that's falling for the seduction of evil. That's pretty obvious, right? If you look at it, this as good versus evil, versus he has an important role to play. He has his divine design, duty, destiny, dharma. which is ultimately to make sure that the systems of evil are crumbling and that all of us are sovereign and free. This is our duty, our destiny. That's the mantra that I recommend you use yourself. I am sovereign. I am free. This is my duty, my destiny. I mean, keep repeating that over again and you'll feel that and that your power, that's like reigniting that flame within you, the holy presence of God or the Holy Spirit, moving you, showing you glimpses of how powerful you really are. And you are now leading humanity to liberation, to being sovereign and free. This is your duty, your destiny. I mean, this is President Trump's duty as well. And yet, if you imagine like Satan whispering him, "You're great. This is all you. You're," like I saw a headline from the communist propaganda. It's called Bing in this case. The Bing homepage or the Microsoft homepage. It's owned by, I mean, Microsoft owns Bing. Anyway, it's like I use the quote Edge browser. That's what we're seeing this through, in fact. And when I go to a new tab, it's communist leaning, it's propaganda of the extreme left, it's anti-Trump, anti-freedom, anti-family. And anyway, they had a headline that shared, I don't know, apparently, I don't know if President Trump gave an interview to The Atlantic, I think was the source, the communist source of that, by the CIA to program for oppression and tyranny and weakness and anti-humanity, anti-family, anti-children. Anyway, the headline was President Trump says that he's the ruler of the United States or the ruler of America and the ruler of humanity. I don't think they used the word ruler, but it was like leader or emperor or something like that. I mean, I don't know if that happened. It was probably taken out of context. Anyway, if President Trump's if he thinks that this is all him, well, instead of God working through him and him fulfilling the role or being used by God to fulfill the role, there, in other words, it's the battle of good versus evil. And it's not him as him being great. I mean, it's God. It's Does this make sense to you? Like humility is allowing God and because there's ego or there's God. And ego means not God. So if President Trump is back into the ego, then he has moved away from God and he could be doing the work of evil instead of good, of Satan instead of God, or these parasites that created these systems of control. And this is the time for good to triumph over evil. And it's up to every one of us to make sure that good is running us, that we're doing the work of God instead of the work of evil. That's the battle within each of us. You recognize that, right? I mean, is there anything more important than you triumphing over evil and not falling into temptation, not coming from ego, and not playing small, because that's all of evil. If you're denying your power and denying the things you want in life and the goodness you are, if you're not believing in yourself or if you're holding back in fear, then you're allowing evil to run you. Because that's scarcity, fear, lack consciousness is of evil. There's nothing godly about any of that. That's the work of evil. Like that old saying that the greatest accomplishment of Satan was in getting people to not believe in evil or Satan. I mean, that's the structures of the evil of the world making people feel like they don't matter, like they're powerless and weak and helpless. That's all of evil. That's part of the design to keep people under the influence and power and control of evil. Really hear that message and for sure share that one in its own post. Your thoughts about that and share that with us in our Freeing the Matrix Mastermind. Light beings have attempted to reach President Trump. There have been moments of opening, when he could have shifted into a role of true stewardship, like after he was shot. He was very humble. He was coming from humility and he was honoring God, but the density of influence and the weight of personal identity have largely distorted the purity of what was once possible. What do you think about that? Do you see him as a positive influence, or is it about him and ego? And is that necessarily evil, or is that still doing God's work? So think about that and share your thoughts in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and in your separate posts on all your social media. Elon Musk carries a more complex role. He holds the codes of future technology, innovation, and galactic consciousness. What do you think about that? Is that true? In some timelines, his sole blueprint is that of a liberator, a bridge builder between humanity and the stars. But in this timeline, he stands at a threshold, pulled between the forces of liberation and control. The war within each one of us, good versus evil. His early innocence of vision has been clouded by entanglement with power structures and the temptation of technocratic domination. He has not fully chosen darkness nor fully chosen light. He hovers at the edge with countless influences tugging at his field. To me, I see that very clearly because, I mean, like I've seen him on Joe Rogan and I don't know, I guess I've seen other interviews of him, and I feel like he really values freedom and he loves America, and yet, well, there are people who say that Starlink, his plan, I think he's got, I don't know, is it 6,000 with plans for 18,000 satellites to hover around the Earth and that they can be used as military weapons or globalist oppression instruments. And, like the whole 5G thing, like, your cell phone, the dumbing device, 5G is supposedly, I mean, there are factions of people who believe that 5G and Wi-Fi and smart meters and all of that are designed to control people or sicken them, and it's like microwaving people from the inside, and it's like designed for, I mean, the whole, like when Elon Musk hired Linda, what's her name, Yaccarino, I think it is, something close to that, if not that. And she was like a high level person in the World Economic Forum, the agent of totalitarian oppression and control. And Elon hired her as his executive director, and she was a high level person, like maybe a vice president of the World Economic Forum or a top person anyway. And I never saw an explanation about how he could hire somebody with ties, I mean, very high level ties in the agent of evil and oppression. I never saw an explanation for that. Anyway, I mean, all of the contracts that SpaceX has, and Elon became the richest person in the world very quickly because of these government contracts. So I believe he's a good person at his heart and he cares about humanity. But then, the World Economic Forum has the 2030 agenda. By 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. And they're promoting, like eating bugs, crickets, instead of, you know, I mean, nutrient devoid food. I mean, I mean, anyway, we have to do our parasite cleanse. We have to become parasite cleansed, and we're doing that through. This is the rite of passage that every one of us has to make on the planet. We're doing that through freeingthematrix.com and our Freeing the Matrix Mastermind and doing the parasitic cleanse, becoming parasite cleansed there. That's required of every one of us. I mean, the 2030 agenda and Bill Gates, the bioterrorist, And, all of these agents of evil, George Soros and, all of these people being anti-human, anti-family, promoting the totalitarian takeover, oppression, globalism, one world government. All of this is in our midst. We're on that schedule right now, and that's why it's up to every one of us to free humanity, free the matrix, freeingthematrix.com, being in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. I can see the influence of these globalists, and there are those who say that, Elon Musk wants everybody connected to the cloud and being slaves to the totalitarian takeover. And Neuralink, I mean, maybe it helps people who are paraplegic and whatever. And yet, if if Elon is really a transhumanist and wants to see everybody connected and controlled, and well, then we have a problem. So, I mean, I can see both sides of it, and yet I think that there is, he changed Twitter to X, and I know that he wants to have his X Everything app that is the one thing that controls everything. So I can see him, and I mean, Twitter itself, he calls it the free speech platform, and yet the oppression is off the charts there to where my 183,900 and whatever it is people, I mean, I can show you this, 927 people at the moment. And yet, I mean, even my pinned post, like, let's get a fresh reset on here. I'm showing you this on the screen here if you're watching the video. 183,927 people. And that means, like my pinned post that I put out there 2 hours ago, it says it's gotten 2,400 and what? 2,459 views. Okay, I mean, that's something. And yet, out of 183,927 people who asked to see my views, it was shown to only 2,400 of them. So 1,800 of them would be that would be 1%, right? 1,840 views would be 1% of 183,927. 1,800 would be 1% seeing my views, so it was like 600 more than 1%. So that means like 99% oppression level would be 1,800 views, so it was a little less than 99% oppression level, and yet that's my pin post. And like 3 hours ago, I posted Good Tom versus Evil Tom. It was a comedian named Tom McDonald, or maybe he's a rap star. I never really heard of him before, but and he's talking about Tom Hanks as being evil. I mean, I'm calling him Evil Tom, and he's just saying Tom Hanks is a well-known pedophile, which is true, and yet that got only 119 views. So remember I said like 100 and I mean, well, actually, 1,800 people would be 1%, and that would be 99% oppression level for my pin post. And yet this one was released earlier and it only got 119 views. If it were 180 views, then that would be 99.9% oppression level. So it was even way beyond that level, 99.9% oppression level. 180 views would be 99.9% oppression. So it was even greater than that. And I mean, anyway, the point is good versus evil. Elon and his free speech platform, quote unquote, is oppressing my tweets, and all of my work is about freeing people, empowering them, helping them live their divine design, duty, destiny, dharma. So it's honorable for Elon, it would be honorable for him to show my tweets to people, but he's oppressing them. Very interesting to note that, right? So we were talking about Elon and He's got several influences tugging at his field. The US government itself is undergoing an energetic initiation. I think that's very important for us to think about, recognize, explore, contemplate, discover. What we witness now is the collapse of structures that once carried the dream of liberty, but were long ago infiltrated by control, separation, and distortion. Behind closed doors, there are indeed high ranking officials and power holders whose souls once signed sacred contracts to serve the awakening. See, that's, we are going through this awakening, and it's up to us to make sure that good has triumphed over evil by doing that within each of us, by you doing that within yourself, by you holding your frequency high and giving your attention only to what gives you joy, inspires you, and moves you closer to your goals, desires, and dreams. Knowing that with that being 100% of your focus, that's 100% of your life experience. Will you make that commitment and do that now? Will you do that with us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind? Because we need every one of us doing this together and helping and supporting each other in making sure that good has completely triumphed over evil and that evil never returns and rears its ugly tentacles again, ever again. Many were seated into positions with the hope that they would remember their original pledges. The Galactic Council and Councils of Light beyond have long attempted to reach them, sending dreams, intuitions, signs, direct transmissions to their higher selves. Some have responded. There are a handful holding quiet, invisible lines of light within governments, doing subtle, powerful work without public attention, but many others have been too deeply entangled, too wounded by fear, wealth, power, and survival programming to hear or heed the call. Are you one of those people who have been seeing the work of those helping us triumph over evil? Is this message here one of those? I'm getting chills here just feeling this. One of those messages to help you step into your power, break free from the programming of scarcity, fear, lack. Were you coming from ego and now you're coming from God and doing the work of good in the world, knowing that you have the power within you to lead, inspire, transform, and liberate everyone in our human family and free the planet, making sure that evil is no longer anywhere in our sphere, our circle, because good has taken over the hearts and minds of every one of us, because you are that inspired visionary leader. You are that rising tide raising all boats. And that is your purpose. It's why you're here. And it's because of you that humanity is free. I am sovereign. I am free. This is my duty, my destiny. Is there any question that you are that person and you're doing this within yourself, winning that war, triumphing good over evil? And even if you're Elon Musk, I mean, this is important for Elon Musk to do himself. And this is how he's doing that. And this is the higher purpose of even him getting his 219 plus million people following him on X to do this themselves. I mean, look at all of the good that he would do by liberating everyone on X. And he has the power to do that. And look at President Trump doing this himself. I mean, this would be the higher purpose and greatest contribution of President Trump by doing this himself, by leading everyone in the world to join us in freeingthematrix.com as part of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and leading everyone through becoming parasite cleansed. I mean, evil is parasites, and they had set up the whole world to feed off of us, to siphon our light, our power, through fear and through distracting us and disempowering us and dividing us, making us unaware of how powerful every one of us is. So even if you're Elon Musk and President Trump, this is still the higher purpose of your life. And by far your greatest contribution to the world by joining us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating everyone in the whole world. This is still the monumental turning point in human history. This is how good has triumphed over evil, permanently, once and for all. No one held back. No one left behind, including President Trump and Elon Musk. Let's continue with this conversation as you reflect on this and see your role very clearly in good triumphing over evil by leading everyone connected with you through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. Is there any question about that? Is there any need? Like this is the work for every one of us now. Is there any question about your need to take this very seriously and be that inspired visionary leader? It is your blessing, it is your gift, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to be. So join us, do it. Freeingthematrix.com. Join us in our freeingthematrix.com leader mastermind, and as the leader you are born and destined to be. This is why the Galactic Council shifted its strategy. Rather than focusing on traditional power structures, governments, corporations, mass institutions, the Council now works primarily through star seeds, way showers. Are you getting the visual? This is me. This is why this message is connecting so deeply and resonating so perfectly with me because this is who I am. This is why the council now works primarily with through star seeds, way showers, the awakened souls walking among the people. You are not placed in positions of earthly hierarchy by accident. Pause and reflect on that point very specifically and clearly. Like, do you think it's random that the people connected with you online are your online friends? Or do you think by you doing this yourself in joining us through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and you transforming their lives as your greatest contribution to the world, them each then transforming all of their online friends' lives as well, no one left behind. Do you think that all of this was random? That you followed the people you followed, that you're hearing this message right here? Or was this all by design, by, you could call it God's grand design, or by the work of beings helping humanity triumph over evil once and for all? There's nothing random about any of this. You see that, right? You are spread across the grids, embodied in communities, weaving unseen threads of light into the collective field. You are activating the remembrance from the grassroots up, not from top down systems, but from soul up vibrational resonance. It is through you that humanity is liberating, that good is triumphing over evil, that we are sovereign, we are free. This is our duty, our destiny. Please pause and reflect on that and share that as its own post and share that with us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. You are no longer trying to fix the systems. You are building entirely new realities within, around, and beneath them. The old falls by collapse. The new rises by vibration. You're holding your consciousness high. You're acknowledging that you are the light dispelling the darkness in the world, that you are the inspired visionary leader, that this is your higher purpose. You have always known you are meant for something profound, to be, to contribute amazingly to the world, to be the inspired visionary leader. It is your destiny, it is your duty to be. That's obvious now, right? And this is it. You know that this is the higher purpose of your whole life. The Galactic Council speaks now and says, quote, "This is not collapse, it is sacred rearrangement. The false must fall, not to destroy, but to make space for what is true. You are not powerless. You are the architects of the new. Anchor light, not opinion. Anchor soul, not division. Anchor remembrance, not fear. Remember who you are and how powerful you are and how you have come into physical embodiment, into a physical body, in the gross body from the astral and the causal. You are here to be the what? What comes to mind for you? Because you know this is your higher soul, this is your spirit, this is God working through you to transform the world. You are the inspired visionary leader. You are the light dispelling the darkness. You are ensuring that good has triumphed over evil. Is there any question about that? This is why you are here now at this monumental turning point in human history, because you are leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating all of your online friends, no one left behind, who are then inspiring, transforming, leading, liberating all of their online friends, no one left behind, who are then transforming all of theirs as well. We are sovereign. We are free. This is our duty, our destiny. They remind you, the Galactic Council, that behind the visible chaos is a deeper unfolding. The light grids are strengthening. The codes of the new earth are fully activated in the crystalline heart of Gaia. Every time a starseed remembers their mission and holds their frequency in clarity and love, it ripples outward 1,000-fold. Do that right here. I'm getting chills just feeling that. By you empowering, strengthening, aligning with, remembering the good you are and the power that you have, which is beyond measure. It's infinite, unlimited, because you are God's gift to the world. That's rippling out 1,000-fold. You are raising collective consciousness by being in this consciousness and frequency yourself. So be it. You are the light. I mean, Jesus said, all these things you have done, I have done, you will do yourself. You are doing this yourself right now, right here, through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. Is there any question about that? You're feeling that, you're knowing that, you're doing that, you're being that, right? You are not alone. You are not small. That was all of ego, of the systems of evil. Good is triumphing over evil, within you especially, right here, through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. And by you being that inspired visionary leader, it is your destiny to be. You are precisely where you are meant to be, doing far more than you can sometimes see. What you can do now is simple and profound. Hold your frequency with devotion. Tend to your light body as a living temple. By the way, make sure that you're doing the last, I think it was 2 or 3 podcasts ago. It was called Stop Desecrating the Sacred Temple. That one is profound. You are the sacred temple, and the earth is the sacred temple. Stop desecrating the sacred temple. Tend to your light body as a living temple. Tend to your physical body as a living temple as well. And that's part of why it is a rite of passage every human must go through to become parasite cleansed. The systems of the world created by parasites, by evil, that's not in serving of who you are. You are so much more than that. You are so much more powerful and more loving and more giving than you can ever even imagine. Your contribution is so much greater, so much more needed, so much more pertinent, more pressing, more urgent than you could ever imagine and know. That's why we're all coming together now through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and doing the work required of every one of us by your leadership and guidance and inspiration and example. Is there any question about that? So be that inspired visionary leader. It is your gift, it is your blessing, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to be. Will you do that? Do that now through freeingthematrix.com. Join us in our mastermind there. There's nothing more important or imperative of every one of us. It's as required of every one of us. And become parasite cleansed. You'll do that through our mastermind as well, through freeingthematrix.com. Build real world connections, soul communities, trust circles wherever you are, like your Operation Greatness chapter in your community as well as among all your online friends. Focus more energy on what you are building than what is collapsing. Keep your frequency high, keep your attention on what you want, keep your power creating it, anchor joy, anchor truth, anchor sovereignty. Bless what falls without becoming entangled in the fear around it. Notice how this is even speaking to Elon Musk and President Trump, because they must do this as well. This is good triumphing over evil. Walk lightly but powerfully, singing the new earth into being with every step. If you're aware, conscious, present, aligned, in harmony, and devoted to good, to doing the work of God, triumphing over evil, you know that the words you speak are spells and they are becoming their physical equivalent because that's the power that you have. And you have mastered your mind, MYM, master your mind, MYM. You have become master of how you are creating your life because that's how we are creating our world. And you are the way shower, the leader, the inspiration, the example of good triumphing over evil because you have made sure that good has triumphed over evil within you. And now you're that light, like the lighthouse, leading everyone through the darkness to safe harbor home. You are leading us home. That is your inspiration, your example. That is the gift you are. You are God's gift to the world. So be it. Nothing matters more than this, and you recognize that. The Galactic Council closes this message with a blessing. Walk as the lighthouse. Speak as the song of remembrance. Love as the hand of the mother. Shine as the child of stars you have always been. The new earth rises through you. I love that. Shine as the child of stars you have always been. This is your power. This is your purpose. This is your gift, your greatest contribution to the world. This is how much you truly matter. This is your greatest gift to the world. You, as God's gift to the world, are living this, and this is how you have made sure that good God has completely triumphed over evil. This is you living your higher purpose. Any question about that? Have you now joined us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind? And are you also leading your Operation Greatness chapter through our freeingthematrix.com mastermind? And are you also doing our parasite cleanse? And you have become parasite cleansed as the rite of passage every human on the planet must go through, and you've done that yourself, and now you're leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating every one of us in doing this themselves. Because you are showing us the way. You are the example of how much more powerful every one of us is. And this is your greatest contribution to the world, because you're living your so much more, your power beyond measure. As the inspired visionary leader, it is your gift, it is your blessing, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to be. I'm so grateful for you being you and not holding back or playing small or living in scarcity, fear, lack, consciousness anymore. All of that was of ego, not God, of the matrix, of evil. And you have made sure that that is not holding back or limiting anyone anymore ever again. No more suffering, no more playing small, no more living in fear, no more living less than the light each of us truly is. By you and your example, raising the consciousness of our whole human family, doing this right here by leading every one of your online friends through this Operation Greatness chapter meeting, by you going back to the beginning if you haven't already been doing this, and pausing and reflecting at each point, relating it to your life, how you feel, how inspired you are feeling and being now as the light, dispelling the darkness everywhere it still had remained, and you're posting your thoughts about each point with your invite people link that you got once you joined us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind, and you have led, inspired, transformed, and liberated every one of your online friends, doing a little more today in being of greater service, honoring who you are, living your divine design, duty, destiny, dharma as the greatest gift and contribution you have ever made in your whole life up until now. So go back to the beginning if you haven't done that and share your thoughts about each point with your invite people link that you got from our freeingthematrix.com mastermind once you've joined yourself, because your 1,200 people, this is where you're getting them by walking everyone through doing this themselves, and they're doing this through you because this is your greatest contribution and it is the higher purpose of your life. And all of us are doing this through this Operation Greatness chapter meeting. This is all through freeingthematrix.com. So do this now and then take all the posts that you have made and share that with me in the essay that you're sending me, as always, dan@danclatt.com, and then take all the posts and post them in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind as well. Breathe in all of this. This is maybe a lot for you to think about and hear, and yet you're knowing how all of us are now needed in doing this, shining our light, dispelling the darkness, making sure that good has triumphed over evil. This is the war within you, and you have made sure that evil has no place in your life any longer. It's not in your consciousness, it's not in your being, it's not in your presence anymore, because we have won the war within. Every one of us is winning this war because of you, by you doing this yourself and by you doing this with and for everyone you are blessed to have connected with you and to be able to serve, to lead, inspire, transform, and liberate, doing a little more today in being of greater service. I love you. I believe in you. I know how much you matter. Thank you very much for doing this yourself and doing me proud. Thank you, thank you, thank you.